Who are the folks that you see succeeding? What are the skills and attributes that they have?
So the ego is gone. They show up consistently being, our calls, doing the homework, etc. And they're not in a rush to see the outcome. They know, hey, whether it's I've owned this affiliate for 3 years and I want to make a change, 10 years, or I'm just getting started, rushing this process doesn't make it happen any faster. And in fact, it could cause issues that I'm not aware of. So, it's funny. And I guess maybe that's probably true in all aspects of life, being open minded, being consistent, and not rushing the outcome probably leads to success.
Welcome to the Spear and Clover podcast, the show where military mindset meets the spirit of the puppy. I'm your host, Jason Skisick, the entrepreneurial evangelist, and each week I bring you the stories of visionaries who see the world as it could be and can't help but take action. If you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and review. This is the best way to stay in the loop when we drop new content. Don't forget that this conversation continues at spearandclover.com, where you can learn more about the show, sign up for a free test drive of the Spear and Clover Mastermind, and get access to free training tools for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, have you put in the hard work, overcome obstacles, and taken on multiple roles in your business, yet somehow still can't seem to take it to the next level? Don't worry, you're not alone, and we have a solution to help you. The truth is, what got you where you are won't get you where you want to go. In fact, this may be the exact thing that's holding you back. Dynasty organizations that grow and last must be able to produce industry-leading results consistently without reliance on specific leaders, role players, or playbooks. So, where do you begin? I am beyond excited to announce the launch of our new companion podcast, Dynasty Defined. The purpose of this show is to teach you the inside details of what it takes to create your very own dynasty and live your ideal entrepreneurial life. Each week, I'll ask dynasty builders 11 questions in under 12 minutes to reveal only the essential details that have helped them to grow profitable, scalable, and valuable businesses. You can find Dynasty Defined on YouTube and across all major audio platforms. Don't miss out on this valuable resource. Tune in to Dynasty Defined and start building your dynasty today. I typically see the best in people when I meet them. I call it my high beams of hope. The problem is, most of the time, that quickly leads to disappointment when I inevitably realize this person isn't who I thought they were. Honestly, how could they be? Most people aren't this elite version of themselves I imagine when we first meet. To be elite at what you do is not about some crazy high peak performance followed by valleys and dips. It's about showing up every single day and doing the boring work. It's about deciding who you want to be and honoring your word to yourself. There is a simplicity to virtue, or you might say, winning is simple. Today's guest is one of those few who has become great by honoring his word to himself and showing up every single day to try to be the best at what he does. He is a 4-time CrossFit gym owner, going all the way back to 2007, a CrossFit Level 4 coach, which is unheard of, an instructor for the CrossFit Level 4, as well as the co-founder of the Best Hour of Their Day, a company that helps affiliate owners and coaches become the best in the world at what they do. He is uncommon amongst uncommon men. Please welcome my friend, Jason Ackerman. Jason, what's up, brother?
Wow. That was nice.
I'm a nice guy. You better look me in the eye.
I can't. I
joke.
am.
I
I
joke.
am.
Yeah, we were just talking before we started recording. Jason is not purposely avoiding eye contact. He is looking at where I am on his screen, and we are in his camera, which is slightly off to his right. So, Jason, how you doing, brother? How's your day going?
My day is going great. I worked out, did jujitsu. Now I'm on a podcast with you.
Oh,
It's
brother.
it's the dream.
You're talking about my dream, buddy. I didn't work out or do jiu-jitsu, but I did go for a ruck to the lake this morning with my daughter, Lucy. So we're trying to keep moving. So listen, why don't you give us a little background on exactly who you are and what you do, and then we'll kind of dive in from there. I think the intro kind of got us halfway there.
Yeah, I was gonna say your intro pretty much nailed it, but My main focus these days is the business, best hour of their day. Like you said, founded that with my partner Fern, also a Jason. And most days from 9 to 5, you can find me, looking at this slight angle, talking to affiliate owners and helping them grow from a business perspective, a coaching development perspective, a mindset perspective, and I love it.
Why do you think so many CrossFitters matriculate to becoming CrossFit coaches? And why do they become CrossFit gym owners? And why do so many of them become coaches of performance in human beings?
Well, I think you have to define so many. I think
Sure.
it's you know when did you find CrossFit?
So I found CrossFit probably organically when we were attached to a special forces unit for a job and kind of heard rumblings about it while I was in Iraq, but really didn't find CrossFit until a few years later, when who ended up being my partners and I started doing CrossFit in 2008.
Yeah, I think back then, especially, I started in 2007. There was this kind of evolution. You start, if you're decent at it. Back then it was more of the fitter people. Now, and for the record, I think anyone and everyone can and should coach. But then it was like, I'll coach, and then eventually the coaches evolved and became affiliate owners. Now, I would actually say like 1 to 2% of people that find CrossFit, take their level one.
Mm,
But I do think it's one of those things where you become very passionate about it very quickly.
yeah.
And you're like, well, how do I learn more? How do I get better? What is the next step? And in the CrossFit world, taking your level one is often that next step.
Yeah, and I think too, just to build on that, I think CrossFit and jujitsu has this in some ways, but CrossFit is so foundational to like the human experience. It's about your body. It's about maximizing your body's performance, your nutrition, your sleep, your fitness. And I think that expands inward and then outward for people where they're like, oh, I can live virtuously in a physical realm. And then pretty quickly they're like setting and achieving virtuous goals and they're like treating people better in their life. And do you see it kind of spreading in that way as well?
Yeah, I think it's hard to want to be great at CrossFit, at something that challenges you mentally, physically, emotionally, and not let it seep into your everyday life.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
jujitsu for that. You and I both train jujitsu, and hard to put yourself in compromising positions. Struggle. We've talked about, like, this day and age, it's easy not to struggle. So I
Yeah.
think people that purposely seek out struggle, be it in an affiliate, on jujitsu mats, are more likely to seek it out in their everyday life. But that, it's hard to do one and not let it grow everything.
Yeah, let's linger on that for a second. When you were growing up, were you someone who intentionally sought out struggle, or was this something you've acquired?
I think when I was growing up, I did it, but it was on accident.
Ah,
And it
go
was
on.
just like, this is, so I found high school wrestling, ninth grade, and just started doing it because my earth science teacher at the time was my coach. And you start and it's like, now these are my friends and my teammates, and I was getting my ass kicked every day. And I often like reflect on that period of time because there was never a moment where I was like, I don't have to do this. It was like, oh, this is me now. And I don't, it was never an option in my mind, to quit.
Hmm.
I was getting my butt kicked literally every day. Lost every single match my freshman year. I won a handful, but it wasn't pretty. And it was never like, cool, I can stop this and I don't have to wrestle anymore. I was like, oh, now this is part of my life. And I think, that extended to, post college, like being an entrepreneur, where it was like, I could go that route and collect a paycheck every 2 weeks, but I can go this route, which will be a struggle and I'll have to work hard. I think that's what wrestling taught me was, working hard, which, because I became very good at it. It was, oh, hard work does pay off.
Hmm.
And I think I saw that extend off the mats where it was like this entrepreneurial thing, like for 7 years out of college, like struggle, like no money, every chance I could, I would train someone, coach a class, whatever I could do just to make, $15 at the time. But I was like, there will be like, this won't go, for nothing. Like something will come of this. And I think that's why I love being an entrepreneur so much. You are in control of your own destiny.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Do you feel like you have seen people who don't have the ability to pursue and lean in on struggle? Do you feel like you've seen people in your life, professionally or personally, acquire that, or do you think you kind of have to have the kernel there or have it in you a little bit?
I think it's both. I think some of it's innate. You're born with it.
Yeah.
I never, my father was an entrepreneur. I never kind of looked at him as he was a doctor, but he owned his own practice.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I never really made that connection like, oh, he's a business owner. He was just a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there was probably a little bit that rubbed off there. Um, and I think part of me just never, I wouldn't say I was a contrarian, but I never liked doing what you were told to do. I was good at school. Like I graduated high school, college, a master's degree, but I'm telling you, like, as little work as possible to get there. And because that was part of me, like, I don't like this, I'm not doing it. I'll do what I need to do to get that B or an A, but I'm not gonna sit here and like do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of part of being an entrepreneur. Like you are against the grain. So I think there's part there, and then I think you can learn it. We have, in our company with our clients, we have plenty that, military, teachers, doctors even that are like, let me try this entrepreneurial gig. Some make it, some don't.
Yeah, I think a lot of people though pick entrepreneurial gigs for financial freedom and certainly for personal freedom, which certainly CrossFit gym owners get. But with a college degree, with some experience, there are other businesses you could have started to make significantly more money quicker, right? I mean, you could have been a real estate agent, you could have been a real estate broker or a mortgage broker, you could any number of things, especially in those years. Why take the risk and bet on fitness as the vehicle for you?
I don't think I ever considered anything else. Like I
I,
really, I was in a gym in high school working out, right? Like I said, I got my butt kicked freshman year, and I was like, okay, how can I get better? I need to get stronger.
Mhm.
So my mom, signed me up for a gym, and really from that day on, I was addicted to it, and that became well. I interned there in high school. I was able to do like an internship there, and then I came home my freshman year in college and got a job there, and I just was like, cool, I love this thing. But when I was in college, it was always like I didn't have a plan to get a job, but it was part of the plan.
Mhm.
Like I'll get this 4 year degree and then I'll get a real job. No, having no clue what that would look like. And then so I graduated college with a degree in psychology. I was like, oh cool, I can't get a job with this degree. Like I literally can't do anything other than become a teacher. And I didn't want to teach, or be a social worker type of thing. So I went back to college after to become a phys ed teacher. So I'm doing that thing, did all the prereqs I needed, then went on to a master's degree. So I was kind of moving towards that,
Mhm.
but I still always, all the while, like I was, my jobs were at a Gold's Gym or at other, locally owned gyms, thinking I would eventually leave that, realm. And then I found CrossFit because I was really close to leaving it. I was like, okay, I can't continue to live like this, like paycheck to paycheck, no money. And then I found CrossFit and it was like, okay, this might be the key. This like I was at a point where I didn't have enough money to open, back then it was like, what are you gonna open? A Gold's Gym, a global gym, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I didn't have anything, but I was like, well, this CrossFit thing, I can probably make this work for a few thousand, which, my girlfriend at the time gave me the money for my level one, gave me like $5,000
Wow.
and I was able to open. So the idea that I can own a gym wasn't something I ever considered, and then CrossFit showed me, no, you can do this.
Wow. So first of all, shout out to that girlfriend. Is I,
Yeah,
I assume
I'm, I,
she's in the Yeah. Hope she's doing well. Hope she
I
got her
did
money
too.
back.
She got her level one. She was a great coach, super
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
It's been 10, 12 years since we were dating, but
Yeah.
one of the few relationships, at least on my end, that I was
Yeah.
like, we're ending this thing amicably.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah.
So listen, so now let's talk about you've owned four affiliates, which is unbelievable. And I'm certain that there's some stories there. But for the listener at home, so maybe they don't do CrossFit, maybe they don't, maybe this isn't a fitness interest for them. But what would you describe those clients that have succeeded with you at taking on challenge and struggle and stuck around and lasted the test of time? Do you see any common tying characteristics in those people? And we're not talking about the fire breathers, right? I mean, you opened in 2008. People just came out of the woodwork. That who knows where they were before 2008 or 2007, I guess. But in those days, yeah, you just get the Navy SEALs and the ex college football players and all that. But I'm talking about the normal folks. If you could maybe give us a description of those people who have been able to step up to those challenges long term and come out the other end, these virtuous human beings, what ties them together?
It's funny, yeah, because in 2007, 8, it was like all ex-collegiate athletes,
Yeah, yeah.
military. Um, I was a trainer, so I did bring over some of my like older lady clientele. So it was
Mm-hmm.
really cool. I was one of the first doing that. And then slowly everybody, realized we can do this thing. But, currently 2023, I think a few things. I think one, lack of ego. So when people join, a lot of times like I want to get great at this thing and I want it yesterday.
Yeah.
And they wind up overdoing it, either getting hurt, burning themselves out. So the people that are like, all right, I want to make this health and fitness thing part of my life. And I'm not doing it only to be good at fitness, CrossFit. I'm doing it so I can ruck with Lucy. I'm doing it so I can do jujitsu. I'm doing it so, for me, it's like when my daughter wants me to chase her around the kitchen island 100 times a night, right?
Yeah.
Which is enjoyable. Like I'm not worried. I'm 44 with a 2-year-old and another one on the way. Like I'm the old dad.
Congrats, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I'm doing it for those reasons. Like in 20 years, I want to be able to wrestle with them. Maybe not in 20, a little weird wrestling with your 22-year-old daughter. But, I want to be able to, and keep up with them while they're in high school, college, all that stuff. So I think having that outlook, I think it's the people that in CrossFit specifically go to class. They go to class every day. They're not, I want to do my own thing by myself, because that might seem like what you need or what you want in the moment, but long term that's not going to be fun. It's less sustainable. You're no longer part of the community. So I think the people that just come in consistently, 3, 4 times a week, listen to their coach, make very slow but consistent progress, are the ones that do this for a long time and see those results both inside the box and outside, where they're, be it, you know, aesthetically, just looking better, losing weight, be it, wow, I can, how many people have picked up pickleball recently,
I
right? And
know,
it's
right?
like,
It's a phenomenon.
right, but you can get hurt quickly doing pickleball if you're coming off your couch. But you're doing CrossFit, you're squatting, you're deadlifting, like you're good. Part of the CrossFit methodology, learn and play new sports. And I think that's one of the things that's often overlooked. We find CrossFit like all I care about is CrossFit.
Yeah.
When in reality, and you can go off on a tangent, like the games I think was part of that. Like we found like this is the pinnacle of CrossFit, but it's no different than jujitsu, right?
Right.
I don't, I rarely compete. If I do, it's a local tournament. It would be synonymous with being like, I started jujitsu. My goal is the UFC. Like, no, 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 no. 0.000 whatever percentage, make it there. Same with the games. Do CrossFit because you want to enjoy health and fitness for the rest of your life.
So now let's strip away fitness and let's just say you want to get good at something hard. You should, Jason Ackerman says what?
Do things that are a struggle every day. I think,
Yeah, consistently.
yeah, just, I wake up, other than the fact that it's snowing in Colorado right now, and I have to take my 2 dogs out in the snow. It's like I have a beautiful house. I've got a kitchen full of any food I want. If I didn't want to cook something, I can Uber Eats it, right?
Yeah.
I'm standing in front of 2 monitors, a light, a camera, talking to a buddy, and it's like you can go like what, so for me personally, just I wake up earlier than I want, which is my first struggle, right? You read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. He's like, this
Yeah.
bed is comfortable, right? And that's how I feel every morning. Like I remind myself, I'm like, this bed is comfortable, but if I stay in it longer than I should, I will feel badly about myself later on. So get
Mhm.
your butt out of bed. Other than, hello to the wife, my daughter, and a little bit of time with them, I try to get to the basement, which is the gym, as fast as possible. And, you know, anyone that does jujitsu, I mean, I got my face cranked and my other ear is swollen right now, so that type of, and it doesn't have to be getting choked by your buddies, but, everyone's doing cold plungers or sauna. Just do something uncomfortable, even if it's
Mhm.
like, I want to eat a cookie tonight, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And I look at it for, one example that I had recently is my daughter, she's 2. And how old's Lucy?
Lucy is just about to be 2. She's about 20 months.
So as you know, it's like they don't enjoy everything they have to do, right?
No.
So we're doing gymnastics and she was having a meltdown and she kept saying bye bye, bye bye, meaning like I want to go.
Yeah.
And I was like, really thought about it and I was like, she's not enjoying this, but if I let her leave right now, she learns if I don't like something, I can just quit. And
Hmm.
I was
We're
like,
struggling with that too. Yeah.
yeah, and it was like just a real eye-opening moment for me. I was like, look, I'm trying to reason with her. And I'm like, you don't have to do anything else here, but we can't leave. You have to stay till the end of class.
That probably is one of the foundations of reason for her, right? Like we've been talking about that in our house too. We have very similar ages here, or very similar age at least. And we literally just had that conversation of like, if she cries a little bit more now, she'll cry a whole lot less later. When she's out there having to be a human being, who's capable of taking care of herself and achieving things, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and I didn't want to be there with her crying. Like I was
no,
like,
it's the
yeah, I would
worst.
much rather get in the car.
Yeah.
And then ultimately what happens? She calms down and it was what's been really fun for me, and you'll see it soon, Jason, is so with gymnastics, there's like this big trampoline,
Yeah.
and she looked at it on day one. She's like, I want to do that. I put her on it, freaked out.
Yeah.
A week later, she went on it, did like 3 steps, lost it.
Yeah.
Now she's doing it and like jumping. And like to me, that was so rewarding because I was like, I could have quit with her on day one and she wouldn't have seen, like we're talking about, that struggle leads to, rewards.
Yeah. Well, and to those people listening at home who aren't CrossFit gym owners or former CrossFit gym owners or CrossFit people, we see this in their 40s if they don't do it when they're kids. And so somebody comes in and they see somebody doing a handstand and they're like, "No, I can't possibly." And then 6 months later, you see them walking around on their hands or doing, handstand push-ups or something. And so what I would say is if you're a parent and if you've gone through life not able to do stuff, this is just a moment where I felt necessary to like call out, like have them learn these things now, and then they won't be feeling the way that maybe you did or do later when they're a little bit older. Because how many people have you met who can't crawl, they don't they walk with their feet pointed all akimbo and they don't even know that they are. There's just so
Mm-hmm.
much. I'm trying to hesitate to make this like a CrossFit gym owners podcast because so much that we could go down. So in fact, let's shift a little bit to your clients now. So now you're doing a whole different type of struggle. You're helping affiliate gym owners and affiliate coaches energize what is already this virtuous methodology in a way that is also has another layer, which is the structure of business, right? And so if you could, who are the folks that you see succeeding there, and what are the skills and attributes that they have?
That's so funny because when you make me think about it like that, it's the same.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's the same in the sense of like, oh,
Yeah.
I've hired someone and I'm gonna listen to them. I don't know better because those people, we get those. Like, I'm hiring you, I'm paying you a lot of money, but I know what I'm doing. Well, if you did, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right?
Right.
So the ego is gone. They show up consistently being, our calls, doing the homework, etc. And they're not in a rush to see the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
They know, hey, whether it's I've owned this affiliate for 3 years and I want to make a change, 10 years, or I'm just getting started, rushing this process doesn't make it happen any faster. And in fact, it could cause issues that I'm not aware of.
Hmm.
So, it's funny, and I guess maybe that's probably true in all aspects of life, like, being open-minded, being consistent, and not rushing the outcome probably leads to success.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. That's insightful. I would also add that I understand now how difficult it is to not want to rush when you're struggling this thing that you've built. By the time you reach out to somebody like Jason or myself, in some cases, you're already at a point where things haven't worked that you thought should, many times probably. And so as a business owner, you never want to be acting out of a position of need if you can avoid it, and you have to act out of a position of need, but that doesn't change what the medicine's course is going to be, right? And so there
Mhm.
is some resilience that's required for sure. Do you think you've mentioned ego twice? In both answers, you mentioned having no ego. Do you think that struggle is a good way to reduce or weaken your ego? Or rather, allow you to see around it? Or I don't necessarily think you want to not have an ego, but to maybe put your ego into check.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it a lot because it's been a lot of my personal journey.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you realize in life a lot of interactions you have and things you want to do are just your ego. Things like, I need to make sure that person knows they're wrong. That's a big one. Like, right? You hear that,
Yeah.
if you're married, you think it. If you own a business, you think it. If you have family, you think it. And that for me was a big kind of eye opener. Like, oh, am I doing this for me or for them? And often it's for me. Like, I've got, you know, and if I'm arguing with my wife, and I'm just like, I need to, like, is it I need to win this and I need to convince her of this, or can I just drop it? And I had, relating it back to an affiliate owner, we had a call and she's like, this lady didn't treat me right and blah, blah, blah. And I need an apology. And I was like, but is she paying you a membership? She was like, yeah. And I was like, well, why do you need an apology? And she was like, she couldn't grasp what I was saying. And I probably wasn't communicating well, but I was like, I get it. Like, when someone wrongs you and treats you poorly, you want them to say, I'm sorry. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, that's for you. Like, if someone, I apologize all the time. I joke, I apologize. You want an apology? I'm sorry. You want an apology? Like, it means nothing to me,
Yeah.
right? So someone saying I'm sorry might mean absolutely nothing to them. So what are you looking for? Like, you've learned a lesson. I treat this person the way they deserve to be treated by how they treated me. I don't need an apology. I just know, like, I'm keeping my distance from that person. So it's a lot of that type of stuff. I think I used to be far more like, I need to be right, but I need to tell you why I'm right and tell you why you're wrong. And now I'm just like, everyone, there's billions of people. Like, you can't, if you live like that, going back to Marcus Aurelius, it's like, I control what I can control, and I am 100% certain I cannot control anyone else on this planet.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the journey has ended, and I've mentioned this on the show before, so if you've heard it before, I'm sorry, but the journey has most recently presented itself for me as realizing that I could be right far more often if I ended up shoulder to shoulder with the person that I was debating, right? Or discussing something with. So like just looking for what's correct, not my idea is right and I'm going to defend it at all costs, or their idea is wrong, but much more what's actually right. Like I'm willing to just be wrong quickly more and more. But I think it goes back to, I'll never forget in the army, learning that you can't just tell a guy that he's sitting in your stool at a bar. You can't just say that to somebody, because when you do in the army, you get in a fight
Yeah,
90% of
that's
the
what I say.
time.
You
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
like, so understanding, like you're saying, that you can't control other people's thoughts, their behaviors, their actions, their opinions, particularly those things that are underneath the surface. And so that was like the first scratch of it, was like, hey, don't tell somebody to get out of your seat. And people would be like, why? I'm like, well, because I've been in like 5 fights over that, and it wasn't worth it every single time. It was never worth it, in fact. And so it's like, just understand what your actions are going to cause before you take those actions, right? Um, so what are you most proud of? What are the changes that you've brought to people, either as athletes, as coaches, or now as entrepreneurs, that you really are proud of and are building a legacy from?
I, I'm just really proud of the clients that we work with that implement everything and see that change. It's just so rewarding. I think about it a lot. Like, I'm 44. Hopefully I've got another 44 years.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I got the kids and like all like a book. If I die, I got a book out there and hundreds of hours of YouTube, right? But
Yeah.
I want people, like, if I died, to be like, this guy, I'm where I am because of that guy, right? And we have some clients that, whether it's just went from making $0 to thousands of dollars, or plenty that quit their full-time job, like we talked about, and took that entrepreneurial leap. Those people, get me excited. So when I talk to either potential clients or current clients and just realize like I'm having a true impact on their lives. Like,
Mm.
fitness is great. That's always fun to see people that they've lost 100 pounds or came off, diabetes medication. But seeing this, like, when you're an entrepreneur, and now, a woman named Trish comes to mind on Long Island, who's like making more money than she ever dreamed of, and she like really values herself more because she's a business owner and she's doing it the right way. So knowing, we have a great relationship, but knowing every day, like when she wakes up, like part of her happiness is because of what I've done. Like, I don't need her to, she texts me plenty, but I'm not doing it because I want her to thank me every day. But just knowing, I don't think many people in the world get that satisfaction of like, I've truly helped, hundreds, if not thousands of people. Like, that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
a lot of
Go.
people, teachers, doctors, you're all doing that as well. Like, this is just my way of doing it.
Yeah, and I would add, for me as an entrepreneur, the two words that are constantly echoing in my head are undeniable. I want to become undeniable at what I do or I'm trying to do, and I want to have scale. I want to be able to scale it. And so you have found, sir, a way to clearly be undeniable. If you don't know this, a CrossFit level 4 and an instructor in the CrossFit level 4 circuit is enormous. That's very, very rare and very virtuous. But number two is the scale that you've been able to find. How many 100-pound weight losses are happening at the dozens and dozens of affiliates that you help to stay afloat? And what would happen to those communities if suddenly there was no option for good fitness? And in a lot of cases there are, in a lot of cases there aren't, right? There's like a 24-hour fit, especially rural places, there's a 24-hour fitness maybe, and then maybe some other local rec center or a YMCA where nobody really gets fit that wouldn't have. And then there's the CrossFit gym. And how many people, that it's probably in the thousands that you're impacting in that regard. And so do you have some sense of scale when you think about it in those terms?
Yeah, I often just think about the affiliate owner and forget, yeah, with every affiliate owner, there's 100 people
At
behind them.
least, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that is great perspective, and great to think about it that way.
Yeah, I got to shout out Doug Larson of Barbell Shrugged. He was kind of walked me through that the very first time, and that was at a
Hmm.
time when I was an affiliate owner. Listen, there's two questions that I ask every single guest that comes on the show, and I'd like to ask you those two questions now. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Question number one. If you had access to unlimited financial capital, how would you profitably grow your business?
Unlimited
It
financial
has to be
capital.
profitable growth.
Well, for one, I would hire more people. Is that profitable growth? Knowing that we'll leave,
If they're
right?
making money, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I think a lot of our only struggle currently is we want to grow faster than we can. It's goes back to what we were saying, and my partner Fern and our other partner Marcus, who is part of Barbell Shrugged, they're very good at slowing me down because I'm like, I want to do this tomorrow, and they're like, here are all the problems that will happen if we do that now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really good about that with me. Now, there are plenty of ideas that I come up with. They're like, okay, that is when we should expedite. But a lot of it just comes down to manpower.
Mm-hmm.
So I would, and we're really good about hiring people. Like, we're not trying to grow our own income just yet. We want to make more, but we're happy with where we are. So now it's like, let's grow this thing by bringing on heavy hitters. So I would just bring on the best of the best, and having more manpower, I know we would grow significantly faster.
Love it. Question number two. If you had to give up everything you've ever done professionally and try something totally new that you've never done before, what do you think that might be?
Never done. Like I can't say I'm not going to do this, but I'm going to go train
But
jujitsu.
you haven't done, so you'd start a new business that you've never done
Start a
professionally.
new business that I've never done.
And I'm not letting you start a jujitsu gym. That's too close.
Too close.
Yeah.
I would do this is just because we're brainstorming. A uh, door-to-door dog washing service.
Beautiful. That's a great one.
I
And
think
that's
it's
something that scales quick, I bet.
I was gonna say, I think it's scalable. I think you start locally, you buy like a little ice cream type truck, convert it, put a little bath thing in, have like a whole. Oh, you want to get the fancy shampoo? That's an upsell. Oh, you want this? It's an upsell. You want your ears clean? There you go. Like before you like, because dogs are like kids. You'll spend any amount of money on them, right? So like, oh, my dog's gonna have clean ears and their nails are done and this and that. Cool. $200 later for 20 minutes of work. We got a second truck. We got a third truck. We're in, a different neighborhood.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
dope.
yeah, you know what? I got to hop on another call. I got to get this going. I
Yeah,
got
I
to
think
get
we
this
got to
new
get this
business
thing going.
going.
When I was a banker, one of the greatest kind of rags to riches stories was this guy just bought a power washer, like a crappy power washer, and just started power washing barns. And like 4 years later, it was a $10 million business.
Well, and,
It just scales immensely quickly because it's such a, quick thing. It's so easy to SOP out, and you can hire anybody.
and I think that's, going back to what we talked about earlier, like that's just what's in me. Like I've never, you and I went through and lifted together, and I worked through a lot of my stuff, and a lot of it was just, as an entrepreneur, you're always like, I'm 1 month away from being homeless, right? Like I always joke with people, I'm like, like, I'm like
Uh,
Roz, pack up Madison, pack up the dogs. We're gonna go
yeah,
out on the streets. Like we can't
yeah,
live here anymore,
yeah.
and it's like my mentor years ago, this was 10 years ago. So now it's 10 years later. He was like, what's your trend financially? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you were a trainer, then you did this, then you did this. Like you've never once struggled once you found CrossFit and you became like a true entrepreneur, not just a personal trainer,
Hmm.
which was basically a job. I was working hour to hour, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And he's like, so the trend's always up, but you still have that fear that it's going to go down. He's like, but what would you tell like your client, or what would you tell someone on a weight loss journey? I'm like, I would look at the numbers, So now that I have that mindset now where I'm like, no, the numbers are going, like numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And, you know, where in the past I'd be like afraid I'm going to go get a real job, where now it's like, no, I would literally open a dog washing business, or like you said. And I think there's people that just are too afraid to take that risk. Like, I got to spend $25,000 for a truck and convert it and do this and that. That's too much. I'm like, well, the upside is you're going to be working for yourself, right? You're going to be dealing with dogs, having a good time all day,
Yeah.
and you can make it's scalable. Like there's no limit. And in 4 years, you might not be working at all. So they have to,
Ever.
yeah, you just have to see that effort come to fruition. I think
Yeah.
that's what being an entrepreneur is like. It's like a puzzle every day. And I tell people it's kind of like we're modern day cavemen. Like,
I agree.
cavemen, like our food is our money. Like we have to kill every day, be it a sale, be it, taking care of a previous sale, so going back to struggle, a lot of people don't have to struggle. So maybe that's part of like, I need to wake up and figure out what's next and how do I push this thing forward. And, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it.
Well, you, sir, are one of my favorite types of people, and those are the types of people when there's an opportunity to rest, you seek struggle and growth. So I appreciate you sharing some of that insight here today. Anybody still listening must love Jason Ackerman, because it's certainly not because of me. So how can they get a hold of you if they want to find out more about what you're doing?
I think just Googling my name at this point, probably brings up most things. And then on where I post the most is just Instagram, Coach Jason Ackerman.
Yeah, I like your Instagram stuff, by the way. It's real good, real simple, very consistent. Thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate you coming on Spear and Clover, and look forward to having you on Dynasty Defined.
Let's do it.
All right.